To close this file out, I took three old multiple choice Regents questions that were a little unique in how they were presented. All right. This first one actually, like if you go through the whole process of writing the equation of line, you don't need to. All right. But I'm going to show you kind of where you should maybe pick that up. So it says, find what is an equation of a line that's perpendicular to a line whose equation is 2y plus 3x equals 1. So if I go with my usual process here, I'm like, all right, well, I've gotta scrolling. There we go. I'm like, all right, well, I'm looking for my slope. I'm looking for my point. All right. So this is the danger in geometry of getting to a point where you're just automatic. Everything has to be exactly the same and not thinking anymore. So I'm fine looking for that. I've got an equation here. I'm like, all right, well, the first thing I always do is solve this for y. There's my slope. It says perpendicular. So I'm like, all right, perpendicular is flipping the gate. So it's positive 2/3. Now that's a little tricky to get the slope out of there. It's always a little difficult to get perpendicular when you have a negative slope. All right, because remember the slope down here is negative 3/2. You got to flip it and change the sign, which means you're going to get positive 2/3. All right. Then the issue becomes there's no point. There's no point that it goes through. And that can create the following problem. If you're used to always doing the exact same thing, you might start like inventing some point or something. And since you don't know what point it goes through, you actually cannot write yourself the exact equation of this line. And then what you should do, especially because I try to get you not to look at the multiple choice answers until I try to encourage you not to look at the multiple choice answers until you're pretty sure you know what the answers should be. When I look down here, I should notice that all four of these lines have a different slope. All right. So I know the slope of my line is supposed to be 2/3. I just figured that out, which means that the only possible answer it is that one right there, because the other three answers do not have the proper slope in them. So I actually can't write the equation myself for this particular problem. It's the only time the Regis has ever done this. And that's why these questions can be dangerous because I would have never thought to have a question like this when I'm creating questions. I'll create complicated ones. But this one is actually a very, very simple one. But if you're doing things robotically where you do the exact same steps in the exact same order every single time, and if it doesn't work, you don't know what to do, this is what you could get wrong that you should definitely not get wrong. So just be careful with these and really, really read them and think about it. And if you get to a point where you're like, I don't know what else to do, stop at that point, re-look at the question. If it's multiple choice at that point, look at the answers because maybe you're actually